Welcome to Crypto for the Rest of Us. Every day I bring you a tip, tool, or coin analysis. I try to keep it brief and quick. 6 days a week actually, not Sundays. Today we're going to talk about Clearpool Finance in two of the industries that I love. There's three that I love: AI, DeFi, and real-world assets. This is in the DeFi real-world asset space. If you look at it on a list of market caps, it's a small market cap. So let's just call this extremely high risk, but potentially high reward. Nothing I do here is financial advice. I always have to say that. It's just what I happen to be doing. Let's call it entertainment only. So I'm going to try to drive through this real fast. I added one more thing. Every time I do a coin analysis, I go over the crypto itself. I talk about the company. What does it do? The founders. Then we talk about the investors. Like total value locked, what happens to be there depending upon what type of crypto we're talking about. We'll go over the tokenomics, the market cap itself. Then we'll talk briefly about competitors. And then lastly, we'll get into my projections. And I always have to say, as of the taping of this video, I happen to be invested in this one. So I just want to let you know, this is a coin that I have. I'm not telling you to buy it or not buy it, but it's one that I've decided to buy, and we'll talk about that later. All right, so coin market cap or CoinGecko, you can jump in and you can get, as you know, all the quick information here. You can see a brief chart of what happened over the last year. We'll go more into that later. You can see the coin itself, but let's talk about first the company itself. Oh, and I should say, as you can see here, there's a list of where you can get it. I believe I have it on BitUnix. It's not on things like Coinbase. So let's move right to the horse's mouth, as they say. I'll put a link to this. This is the Clearpool, what they call their white paper. It goes into what is Clearpool, the various services they offer, but let's just go to about. And let's take a look at what they're doing. They're in the lending space, also RWA, and I'll show you that in a second, but Clearpool is built to address the growing demand for unsecured liquidity in the DeFi market. They provide a solution to the problem of over-collateralization, a major pain point for institutional borrowers in DeFi. Notice institutional borrowers. That's who they're targeting. Clearpool opens the doors to the credit market, which have traditionally been closed to retail investors, you and I, and gives institutional borrowers direct access to a diversified and decentralized network of lenders. Well, they talk about over-collateralization. Essentially, if you've used something like Aave, which I have, let's say you want to borrow $15,000, make it easier. And it says, all right, great. You can take out 15,000 USDT, in other words, dollars. Let's say it's 7% APY. But you've got to put in Ethereum, or you're going to put in Ethereum. And Ethereum is 75% LTV, loan to value ratio. So you would have to put in $20,000 worth of Ethereum at that point in time in order to get $15,000 out. So you've over collateralized. And then there will be a liquidity event if your Ethereum goes down and hits a certain threshold. So that's what they're talking about. And it depends on what you're staking and what you're retrieving, but they're talking about over collateralization in that point. So, and they're also talking about institutional borrowers, big, large groups that are investing on behalf of others. So what I find interesting is that they have smartly focused on a particular group or industry. Let's just say they focus on a particular type of customer. I think that's huge. If you look at companies that do well, let's just say in the big data space, they go after a particular niche. They say, yeah, we have a big data tool. It'll go through all the data. It'll provide reporting, and it works for every person in every company. Well, that doesn't help when they're marketing it. It doesn't help the sales team market it. They need to say, okay, we're going to create a set of tools and reporting that works on big data for finance companies or for the automotive industry or fill in the blank. That always helps them get those initial customers, because when they go in to sell, they can say, look at our tools, look at what we have. It applies to your industry. Don't you see how this will work for you and make you better, more efficient? You want to buy it? Yes, I do. Great. Instead of we come in, we're big data, you're in the finance industry. Let me show you how this works for cars. That doesn't really help as much. I know that sounds stupid, but if you look at a lot of companies like big data, you'll see when you look at their customer base that oftentimes they focus on a niche. And that happens across many different industries, no matter what it is. Okay, so what about this? Well, if you think about an Aave, it's for the world. Anyone can stake, anyone can borrow. Okay, so they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go after institutional investors. They have a unique set of needs. When we go in to sell, We're providing a solution that fits their needs. So that's why, even though this is a very small market cap company at the moment, I believe that this strategy could work very well. Then again, it could fall on its face. It's really going to depend on the team that executes and who's behind them, the investors that are going to kick the rear end in the board meetings or whenever they gather to talk about the direction of the companies. All right, old man glasses again. Founder and CEO, Robert Alcorn, previously executive director, head of repo trading at First Dubai Bank. I saw somewhere else, I think he's got 20 years experience. Maybe that was on the Clearpool one. Robert Alcorn, 12 years experience in financial markets, expertise in capital markets, liquidity, collateral management, collateral trading. Great. That's exactly what he's doing here. And MIT FinTech Future Commerce graduate. We've got Jacob, the COO, track record launching and scaling various startups for Rocket Internet. They talk about his background. There's another individual here I thought was great. Oh, the blockchain developer, their CTO, 11 years experience. 11 years experience in blockchain. Okay. So basically since day one almost. 5 years experience leading teams. That's great. Competed at and won multiple hackathons, including winning ETH Waterloo 2017-18. Okay. They're not dummies. Not only that, but if you go to the main page, you scroll down, you can find it other places. Sequoia Capital, I think it's Sequoia India, not that that matters. Arrington Capital, and some others. Very familiar with Arrington, very familiar with Sequoia. Those are big names backing them. So that makes me feel really good because that tells me that they have what is known as adult supervision. You can have young people who are very talented, yet they don't have the experience on the business side maybe with startups and that sort of thing. And when you have VCs like this coming in, they can provide the adult supervision. That makes me feel great. Okay, so that's the crypto itself. That's the founders. That's who's invested in it. Let's move on. The token itself. Okay, if you head over to DeFi Llama, I already pulled it up. Total value locked, 6 million. It's nothing. Current market cap, 70 million. Now, if you look back here, in 2022, they're around, what'd they peak at? Around 23 million locked. And as you can see here, recently it started to tick up. April, July, not a lot. Okay, so they're getting off the ground. If we go to the website itself, you can see here they've got their various pools. Let's look at the lending. You can come in here. You can see all the different companies. And what's interesting to me, and you can see the lending APRs. Okay, you can see the asset that they've borrowed. It gives you more information about the repayment schedule. If you scroll down and you say, well, I want to take a look at one of these, Facinera, what is this one? You click into it and it comes to their main page and it tells you about them. Unsecured lending pool for this company, investment master fund, high frequency trading firm. You can see the APR. It tells you the network it's on. It's got more information here, but what's interesting is you can go into borrower details. It's going to pull up. This is what I find fascinating because unlike others where you may not know where the money's going to or who's taking it out, you may not care, but they go into great detail. So of each of these borrowers. So if you're providing liquidity, if you're providing the lending and you're staking assets, you can see everyone, they clear them first. This isn't just anyone. And it talks about this company started in 2019, 200-person London hedge fund. It's got more information. What's their trading strategy? I thought this was interesting. It says, why do they want to borrow capital right now? The strategy of the fund is capital intensive. Borrowing is needed to increase the balance sheet and allow collateralization of derivative positions, as well as to provide trading capital. For the last few months, there's been numerous trading opportunities. And then it goes on and they talk about how they want to just have access to additional forms of funding. So they're clearing and making sure that all of these are vetted before they're allowed on their network. If you go into the prime tool that they have, it's institutional grade DeFi. KYC, know your customer, AML, anti-money laundering, compliant access to the largest global network for wholesale borrowing and lending of digital assets. You launch it, it looks like any other dashboard, I should say here. Okay. Then they've got their T-Pool. This is what I alluded to, the real world asset, dipping their toe in the T-Pool. They have USDX. It's dedicated to investing in or purchasing treasuries and distribute the resulting yield to liquidity providers. Currently a 7% yield. Flare Network, but you can get a 7% yield. Now this is interesting because they're talking about total value locked 14 million. Okay, and that's in their treasury pool. That's not appearing here on DeFi Llama. So sometimes you have to dig in to get some information, to get more information about how some of these are working. But there you go. They've got the DeFi and the lending and the prime, and then they've got the real world assets with the their T pool. Let's just call it their treasury pool. Okay. They have total supply 1 billion, max supply 1 billion, current circulating 600 million. So 60% is out there. It does match DeFi. It's close. DeFi Llama. Market cap. All right, 80 million. Yep, it matches. I'm sorry. That's because they're taking the price times the coins that are circulating, and they come up with their 70 million. Fully diluted 115. This is going to be important when we talk about some projections coming up. All right, now let's talk about competitors. Why am I even looking at this one? Because CPOOL is in real world assets. We'll pull that up on market cap, and we'll talk about DeFi as well. Well, my personal strategy is I like big market cap ones, but there's a little possibly less reward, less risk. So for example, if we're looking at the real world asset tokens, I'm invested personally in Avalanche, Chainlink, ICP, Ondo, Quant. Used to have Synthetics. As you can see, we're going down. This is a market cap list, right? So these big ones, these first ones I mentioned, the first three, we're going to 10 billion, 7 billion, 3 million market cap. Ondo, 1.2 billion. Quant, almost a billion. Then you scroll down here and we find CPOOL. Goldfinch, a little less. I've got that one as well. We'll talk about it another time. Maple, I've got that one as well. But here's CPOOL. We're only looking at 70 million market cap. All right. But they're in the DeFi space. Talk about why I care in a second. Here it is. Look how far down they are in the real world asset space. Okay. So if I look at the top, is that the one I'm betting on? No. DeFi, Avalanche, Chainlink, ICP. I'm in all three of those. Had stacks, don't need more injective. GRT, got both of those. Aave, yeah. Jupiter, yes. eGold, yes. And then possibly some others, but I'm just going to go down here real fast. And then CPOOL's down there pretty low in terms of market cap wise. So I believe that this is a good time for altcoins in general. And I like that they're in these two spaces. They're really far down in terms of market cap. However, I can appreciate that they're focused on a particular customer set. The downside in my mind is that means that the business and the valuation will probably depend on how well they execute their strategy and onboard more borrowers and lenders, particularly these borrowers. If you look at the total two, which is the entire altcoin market, if you consider this support, it's at the bottom of its support, right? 800, and it could be up to 800 billion. And hopefully, the top of the range might be 1.2. Is that a $400 billion consolidation, capitulation, whatever you want to call it? Crypto space in general, we look at this before Dune. To me, that's a buy signal. Oh, the RSI is actually on total too. Down here is a buy signal. It's been quiet in terms of volume for quite a while, just the market in general. So I look at it as a great time to buy altcoins, in my opinion. I look at CPOOL, and it was this time last year, it's at this price. So if this is support around here, it had run up last year from 2 cents to about 12, which is where it is now. It ran up to 36 cents. So we're looking at $100 million fully diluted market cap. And it was just recently at a $300 million. That's a 3x. And I would think that if this market turns into a bull market, that this 3x should be a no-brainer. In my opinion, I'm looking for personally a 5x. I don't think that's out of the question. That would be a fully diluted around $500 million. Not crazy. If it were to hit $1 billion, you're looking at a 10x. So this is one that I've personally invested in. Why? I don't know the management team, but they have experience. I'm familiar with the investors. That makes me feel a lot better when you're talking about such a small market cap. And then, even though it is a small market cap, the reason I'm in it is because I like the niche that they're going after, and I like their strategy, Whether or not they execute, well, that's up in the air. And once it gets above potentially this 36-cent range, if it gets up there again and above, well, that's just price discovery. Who knows where it's going to go? So that's it for me. I hope this was helpful. This is one of those that I consider. I've got 3 main buckets, and in this bucket, I call this my high risk, high reward bucket. I don't invest quite as much as I do in some of the other coins dollar-wise, but I do believe this is one that may do well. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I hope this is helpful.